The more things change, the more they stay the same. President Obama continues President Bush's phone surveillance, and millions of Americans are asking the feds, can you hear me now? I'm Michael Schur, folks. You're in the War Room. The biggest news out of Washington today is this. Big Brother is watching you. A report in The Guardian about the NSA collecting phone records of millions of Americans has revived concerns about government intrusion into private lives. More on that in a minute. First to New Jersey, where Governor Chris Christie announced today that he'll name that state's Republican Attorney General Jeff Chiesa to the open Senate seat. Here's Christie.
It's my honor today to let you all know that I intend to appoint New Jersey State Attorney General Jeff Chiesa to be New Jersey's next United States Senator. I've obviously known Jeff for 22 years, and he has been an extraordinary public servant in the time that I've gotten to know him.
Chiesa means church in Italian, so Senator Church a long time ago was one of America's great senators. Maybe there's a little hope. One of Chiesa's chief accomplishments was spearheading an investigation called Operation Swill. It revealed that restaurants, including TGI Fridays and Applebee's, were putting cheap booze in premium brand liquor bottles and then selling it to customers who thought they were buying the good stuff. So he'll fit right in the Senate with his colleagues who fooled voters into thinking they were buying the good stuff. But he actually won't stay there long. He said he would not run an October special election, so he'll only serve until then. But he will increase the number of Senate Republicans, which could add to the gridlock there, with the Senate now vying with the House for the title of nation's most dysfunctional legislative body. Case in point, today Republican senators filibustered two bipartisan bills that would have kept student loan rates from doubling in July. Another cheap drink move from our top shelf Senate. And now to the biggest news of the day that truthfully isn't really news at all. As I mentioned earlier, The Guardian reports that the NSA is collecting information from millions of Verizon phone customers. It's the first confirmation that widespread surveillance of American citizens, authorized by the Patriot Act under the Bush administration in 2001, is continuing under President Obama, even though candidate Obama twice promised to bring change to the White House. By the way, Saturday is the 64th anniversary of the publication of George Orwell's 1984, so I don't know, I'm just saying. Here's what we know about the program now. The NSA collects information on things like phone numbers and the length of calls, but nothing related to the content of the conversations. So they can't actually answer when you ask, can you hear me now, as I mentioned at the top. Cue the ACLU response this afternoon. The organization issued this statement. From a civil liberties perspective, the program could hardly be any more alarming. Next cue, Rand Paul, who never misses an opportunity to criticize the president. He issued a statement saying this: if the president and Congress would obey the Fourth Amendment, this new shocking revelation that the government is now spying on citizens' phone data would never have happened. Lost in all of Rand Paul's bluster is the fact that this shocking new revelation isn't really that shocking or really much of a revelation at all. And in fact, some members of his own party, like Senator Saxby Chambliss of Georgia, the ranking Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, actually pointed that out. Here's Saxby.
This is nothing particularly new. This has been going on for 7 years under the auspices of the FISA authority, and every member of the United States Senate has been advised of this.
Well, maybe Rand Paul was just too busy filibustering to actually do his job. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid also tried to pump the brakes, saying, right now, I think everyone should just calm down and understand that this isn't anything that's brand new. It's been going on for 7 years. It should be pointed out that he stole that calm down line from our own Brett Ehrlich, but I digress a little bit. California Senator Dianne Feinstein also came to the administration's defense, arguing that the program is crucial to our fight against terrorism. Senator Feinstein.
Terrorists will come after us if they can. And the only thing that we have to deter this is good intelligence.
And that's the exact argument the White House is using. In a statement, it defended the NSA program, saying it, quote, allows counterterrorism personnel to discover whether known or suspected terrorists have been in contact with other persons who may be engaged in terrorist activities, particularly people located inside the United States. And it is true that until Boston, there had not been a successful terrorist attack in the United States since 9/11. Joining me now from Atlanta is Jason Johnson. He's the chief political correspondent for Politic365.com and a political science professor at Hiram University. Jason, of course, welcome back inside the War Room. How upset should we be about this? It's been going on for 7 years. There haven't been any lawsuits from anyone claiming to have been targeted. And until Boston, like we just mentioned, no terrorist attack. So is it really that bad, Jason?
Yeah, it's horrible. And this is the disgusting Orwellian state that the United States has signed up for since 9/11. Look, no president is ever going to put away the toys that the previous president bought for him. It was very clear that everything that George Bush did that was a violation of our civil liberties, Barack Obama was not going to put those toys away. He was just going to say that he was going to play with them nicer. And this is what happens. You have a violation of civil liberties, a violation of commercial rights, and really American citizens should be calling their senators, calling their congressmen and saying this needs to be stopped.
Okay, so what about it, Jason, needs to be stopped? You know, I'm a progressive, and I've been talking to, everybody, my friends and colleagues here in the office today, wondering why I'm not angrier about it. And I think the thing that I'm angriest about is the lack of transparency. When they go to the FISA court, we don't know that they're going. We don't know what the FISA court is saying. What would be the change to this? Would it be elimination entirely? I mean, they would come back and they'd say, hey, listen, 10, 12, 13 years of nothing. We've used this information. Mike Rogers, the Intelligence Committee chairman in the House, we'll get to that later, said that it has actually helped to stop a terrorist incident. What do you say is the middle ground, or is it just we can't take this at all? And I understand that argument as well.
Right. Look, there's always a middle ground. And this idea that, well, no terrorist attacks have happened, so this must be working. That's like me saying I have a magic pebble that keeps sharks from attacking me on the beach, right? I haven't been attacked by sharks. No, maybe I'm just swimming in safer beaches. Maybe the sharks just aren't hungry. The reality is we've been doing other things to stop al-Qaeda financially, abroad, wars here and there. But there's a very simple solution here. Just make sure the courts and the NSA has to have a justifiable reason for targeted phone tapping. The problem right now is they can just tap huge swaths of people for no explanation, and that's a problem and a violation of civil rights.
Yeah, and it's not about our Constitution. It's not, I mean, it does not reflect our Constitution. It doesn't reflect what living in America is like, and that's a great point. I mean, I don't know if it's like the magic pebble, but in fact, I see your point, and that is convincing. And listen, it is one of those situations where you're just so uncomfortable about it. Even if it were working, that's not what America is about. President Obama was supposed to be the president, Jason, of hope and change, but in some ways, very little has changed. And you said that in your opening remark about the old toys, just playing with them differently since President Bush was there. Politico today called this Bush's fourth term in a piece by Glenn Thrush. Could he lose his progressive base? And does that even matter to the president?
Doesn't matter anymore, and it never has. Look, Barack Obama is about as concerned about his base as George Bush was concerned about his conservative Christian base. Barack Obama insults black people all the time. Barack Obama, panders to progressives when it's necessary, and then he runs to the other end. I mean, on these core issues, the president has failed tremendously. It does not mean he's not a good president. It does not mean that he hasn't been concerned in other areas. But as far as returning the basic civil liberties, the kinds of things that will create a legacy of him scaling back some of the violations that we experienced over the 8 years of George Bush, he has failed tremendously. And I don't think he's going to lose the progressive base because he doesn't have to run for office again. He's never going to have to be concerned.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because it doesn't really matter to him. His legacy is whatever he makes it afterwards anyway. It has nothing to do with necessarily with what he's doing to his base now. This is not new, though, but these articles come out, and this article from The Guardian comes out just as President Obama is fighting off the so-called scandal. Is that why this has become such a big deal, or do you think it runs deeper?
No, I think this would have been a big deal regardless. The other sort of scandals are pretty much fake. If anything, if you want to sort of thread the needle and link these things together, it is the continuation of a sort of a mission creep and an expansion of executive power that we saw since George Bush. What's happening in the IRS, the president didn't have anything to do with it. Benghazi really doesn't matter. More people died in embassies during the Bush administration. But the idea of the executive and the Department of Justice and the war on terror justifying any violation of people's personal privacy, whether it's library books, emails, or phone calls, that is a continuation of the last 10 years. And it's a problem. And it's something that Obama, as much as he said he was going to change, he hasn't done anything to change that.
Yeah, and it also, I think what makes this different, too, is that Democrats are pissed off about this as well. It's not just that it's been trumped up by the opposition. You'd expect them to trump things up. Senators Dick Durbin and Ron Wyden have been calling for more transparency now for quite a while on the FISA court, the court that oversees this program. Is that the answer? Is that the best place to start?
No, that's kind of like saying, I want you to warn me before you punch me in the face. No, I want you to stop punching me in the face. The problem is the wiretapping, not the transparency of the wiretapping. The problem is that there actually needs to be a focus, that you actually, as the FBI, as the NSA, as counterterrorism, they need to be able to go to the courts and say, I need to find out information about this particular person under this particular circumstance. Not going and looking at every single person in the state of Indiana or every single person in the state of Canada, in the state of California, in the hopes of one day possibly finding some information out. So no, this isn't a time for incrementalism. This is a time for radical change and a destruction of this program before we forget what it's like to be free citizens in this country.
Jason Johnson, you did it. You did it. You finally got me pissed off. I've been trying all morning. I'm now pissed off. Thank you for doing that. I was pissed off at Chris Christie yesterday. Before I let you go, I really do want to ask you about this. His choice for replacement, Jeff Chiesa, is not going to run in the special election. Does that further boost Cory Booker's chances in the fall?
Well, yeah, because Jeff Chiesa is really just going to keep the seat warm for Cory Booker. It's a done deal now. And Chris Christie has managed to shoot himself in the foot again for 2016.
All right, well, fantastic. I could not have gotten through this day without you, Jason Johnson. Thank you. I'm really angry, but I do appreciate it. Jason Johnson, Politic 365.
Thank you.
Coming up on the War Room, some support for immigration reform appears to be on the rocks. Our next guest will explain why he's mobilizing African Americans against the bill. Plus, the same Republicans from John Cornyn on down who love to bash on Obamacare have no problem taking their piece of the Obamacare pie. Lee Fung from The Nation enters the War Room with the lowdown on the latest outrageous story. And later, we continue our March Goes On series. We'll discover what one of the original Freedom Riders and Woolworth sit-in participants' son learned from his mother's fight. Both join us. It's Thursday. We are just getting started. Stay with us.